Archangel Michael says, just 3 minutes left. Archangel Michael is holding a miracle check with your name written in heaven. This is your only chance to see it. Open fast, for the moment is near when heaven touches earth and your soul feels the warmth of God's promise. If you've been waiting, hoping, and believing for something to shift in your life, for healing, for peace, for reconciliation, for a breakthrough you can't explain but know deep down is coming, then this is your divine reminder that heaven has not forgotten you. God has never stopped seeing you, and His hand is moving even now in ways you cannot yet see. Type Amen if you believe. It begins with a stillness, a sacred whisper that reaches the tender parts of your heart. You're not alone. You've never been alone. Even in your silence, even in the hardest nights where prayers turned into tears and hope felt like a memory, God has been right there beside you. He's been working quietly in the background, aligning pieces, mending wounds you didn't know were still open, preparing miracles that carry your name written in divine light. When Archangel Michael holds that heavenly check with your name on it, it isn't a symbol of material wealth. It's a declaration from heaven that you are known, chosen, and loved beyond measure. It is God's gentle reminder that His grace flows like a river, steady and strong, and nothing on earth can stop what He has planned for you. There is something sacred about believing before seeing. There's a rare strength in trusting the unseen hand of God when everything in the world tells you to give up. That's the kind of faith that moves mountains, not loud, not boastful, but quiet, persistent, and rooted in love. Faith that holds on through storms and sings through suffering. Faith that knows that God is never late, even when it feels like time is running out. You may have been praying for months, or even years. You may be wondering if your voice still reaches heaven. It does. Not a single whisper has been lost, not one tear unseen. The Lord gathers every cry, every silent plea, and stores them in His heart. His timing is wrapped in mercy. His answers, though sometimes delayed, are never denied. They arrive when they can bring the greatest glory and the deepest healing. Type 2525 if you trust in God. And when that check is handed to you, not with earthly paper but with spiritual authority, it will carry more than what you asked for. It will carry healing where pain once lived. It will carry peace that makes no sense to the world. It will carry restoration, not just of situations, but of your very soul. God doesn't just fix problems. He transforms lives. He renews hearts. He doesn't just remove burdens, He lifts them and replaces them with joy. Think of all the moments when you almost gave up but somehow kept going. That wasn't chance. That was grace. Every step you've taken toward healing, every morning you chose to believe again, every time you forgave when it hurt, or loved when it wasn't returned, heaven noticed. None of it is wasted. A secret 9-word prayer, once classified under a forgotten program, is now reshaping lives across the globe. People are seeing unexpected deposits, financial breakthroughs, and emotional peace within days of using it. Scientists confirm it rewires the subconscious to attract prosperity naturally. It takes seconds, but the results can last a lifetime. Don't delay, click the link before it disappears. Your story is still unfolding, and the best parts haven't been written yet. God's plan is never short on wonder. He writes with the ink of redemption and paints with the colors of mercy. You are not forgotten in a sea of names. You are deeply known, individually loved, and eternally cherished. This miracle check in the hands of Archangel Michael is not a distant idea. It's the reality of God's promise in motion. It's the manifestation of prayers answered in ways only God could design. It's the beginning of a chapter where healing flows freely and joy blooms again. Hold on. Don't let go of hope. The wind may rise, but so will you. Because the one who calls you by name is faithful. He is not watching from afar. He is walking with you, step by step, tear by tear, breath by breath. There's a light rising on the horizon of your life, and it's not just a new day. It's a new season, one filled with renewal, favor, and divine alignment. Everything you've been through has not been for nothing. The pain, the waiting, the weariness, it has all been preparing you for what's coming. And what's coming will be worth it. Type 222 if you trust Jesus. There are times in life when everything feels still, as if the world has pressed pause on all the good things you hoped would come. Maybe you felt like you were walking in circles, praying the same prayers, holding on to promises that seemed so distant. You've seen others around you receive blessings, find healing, and walk through open doors, while your own hands remained empty. But beloved, God was never withholding from you. He was protecting, shaping, and refining your spirit so that you would be strong enough to carry what He is about to give. When Archangel Michael holds that miracle check close to you, it is not just a symbol of answered prayer. It is heaven's affirmation that your endurance was seen. Your tears, which fell in silence and soaked your pillow in the late hours of the night, have been gathered like drops of gold in the palms of the Almighty. Each one holds the weight of your faith, the beauty of your persistence, and the strength of your heart. Heaven does not overlook suffering. Heaven responds with purpose. God works in ways that often go unnoticed at first. His blessings sometimes come disguised in waiting, in loss, in letting go. He knows when to say, "Not yet," because He sees what we cannot. What felt like rejection was sometimes protection. What seemed like a closed door was sometimes grace shielding you from harm. You didn't miss your miracle. It just needed to arrive when you were most ready to receive it, not in pieces, but in fullness. You may wonder why certain prayers seemed unanswered. The truth is, they were not unanswered, they were being rerouted. God never ignores a prayer from a sincere heart. But His answers are not limited to our understanding. He gives not just what we ask, but what we truly need. Sometimes we pray for healing in one area, and God brings healing in ways that transform every part of our soul. Sometimes we ask for breakthrough, and He gives us the strength to break through ourselves. And when the time comes, when the heavens open and Archangel Michael steps forward with the miracle that has your name written in divine light, your soul will recognize it. Not because of what it looks like, but because of what it feels like. It will feel like home. It will feel like peace. It will feel like the whisper of God saying, "I told you I would never leave you." Type 555 to claim what's already yours in God's timing. The love of God isn't measured by the blessings you can count. It is measured by the quiet moments He carried you when you couldn't move. It is found in the peace that came out of nowhere when the world felt like it was falling apart. It is revealed in the way your heart kept beating even when it was broken. That is the love that holds you. That is the love that brings miracles. Your name is not just written in a book somewhere, it is carved into the heart of the Father. Every detail of your life matters to Him. He knows the burdens you carry, the dreams you've buried, the wounds you've hidden. And still, He chooses you. Every day. Again and again. His love doesn't depend on perfection. It flows because of grace. Because of Jesus. Because on a cross long ago, everything was made possible for you to walk in freedom, forgiveness, and everlasting love. You are not too far gone. You are not too broken. You are not too late. In God's eyes, you are right on time. And this miracle check being handed to you is proof that heaven has not overlooked your journey. It is proof that your prayers echoed in eternity and were met with divine answers. It is proof that God finishes what He starts. There's a gentle rhythm in God's plan, sometimes fast, sometimes slow, but always steady. When you trust it, even in the silence, even when your hands feel empty, even when the path is unclear, you begin to live in a deeper kind of peace. Not because you have all the answers, but because you know who holds them. Archangel Michael, as he stands before you with that heavenly scroll of promise, is not delivering something ordinary. He is delivering a reminder that you are chosen. He is carrying a declaration that you are not forgotten. That your miracle was never denied, only delayed until it could bloom in fullness. Look back for a moment, not with sorrow, but with awe. Look at all the times you survived what you thought would break you. Look at the strength you didn't know you had, the forgiveness you found, the joy that returned even after pain. That was God. That was the unfolding of a bigger plan. Now look forward, with faith, with hope, and with holy expectation. Something is shifting. Something sacred is being released. It is not a feeling. It is not a wish. It is the movement of God's hand over your life. And what He is bringing will feel like healing, like breath, like light after a long night. Type 666 if you trust Jesus with your heart. Sometimes we forget that miracles don't always arrive with thunder or lightning. They come in quiet moments, in soft turns, in unexpected ways that take our breath away. God doesn't always send miracles through grand gestures. Often, He moves through the hush of the morning, the stillness of night, the tears no one sees, and the prayers no one hears but Him. Maybe you've been sitting in silence, feeling like nothing is changing. Maybe your heart has grown tired from the waiting. The journey may have worn your soul thin, and you might feel like you have nothing left to give. But what if this quiet, this pause, is not the absence of movement, but the preparation of it? What if God is setting the stage for something so holy, so carefully timed, that it requires your stillness to receive it fully? When Archangel Michael comes carrying that miracle written in heaven, it's not because you earned it. It's not because you proved yourself worthy. It's because God delights in blessing you simply because He loves you. His miracles are acts of love, not rewards for effort. They come when the heart is surrendered, when the soul is open, when the Spirit says, "Even if I can't see it, I'll still trust you." God sees more than what you show. He knows the weight of your unseen battles, the heaviness behind your smile, the nights you held back tears so others wouldn't worry. He knows how hard it's been to hold on when it felt easier to let go. And still, here you are. Still breathing. Still hoping. Still reaching. That's not weakness, that's faith. What if 7 minutes could rewrite your financial future forever? This hidden frequency, backed by neuroscience, flips the brain's natural wealth switch, unleashing unstoppable prosperity. People are calling it the money magnet sound, and it's already transforming lives. But hesitation means missing out while others move ahead. This is your moment to act. Click the link in the video description and comments below to awaken the wealth inside you today before the chance slips away. Faith is not loud. It's not always bold. Sometimes, it's as simple as getting out of bed when you feel like sinking. Sometimes it's whispering a prayer when you have no words left. Sometimes it's choosing to believe that God is working, even when your eyes say otherwise. And that quiet faith, small as it may seem, is what moves heaven. Type 1919 if you receive this miracle with a believing heart. The miracle isn't just what God is about to give. It's also what He's already doing within you. Every moment of growth, every layer of healing, every step toward wholeness is a miracle in itself. Because you were not made to simply survive, you were made to be restored. God's love isn't about keeping you barely standing. His love is about lifting you, renewing you, and making all things new. There's beauty in the rebuilding. Even if things were shattered, even if life took a turn you didn't expect, God is able to take every broken piece and form it into something more beautiful than before. What once felt like loss will soon look like grace. What once felt like the end will become the beginning of something sacred. This is the promise held in the hands of Archangel Michael, the reminder that nothing is wasted in the kingdom of heaven. The check in his hands is not paper. It is purpose. It is mercy. It is the fulfillment of prayers spoken in darkness and believed in light. It is written with the ink of heaven, covered in the fingerprints of the Savior who bled for your redemption. It carries not just your name, but the love that has carried you through every valley, every trial, every sleepless night. Sometimes, what we think we need is different from what God knows we need. We ask for quick fixes, but He offers eternal peace. We ask for answers, but He gives us presence. And it is His presence that becomes our peace. It is His nearness that becomes the miracle we didn't even realize we were longing for. You don't have to chase after what God has already marked for you. You don't have to earn it, strive for it, or prove you're worthy. Your miracle is not a reward, it's an act of divine love. And it will come not a moment too soon or too late. It will come when your heart is ready, when your hands are open, and when your soul is steady enough to hold it without fear. So breathe deeply, even if your chest is heavy. Rest gently, even if the world feels loud. There is no rush in the rhythm of grace. The check in heaven is not lost, not forgotten, not misplaced. It is waiting. Just like you. And it's coming into your life when God says it's time. You are not alone in this wait. Angels are surrounding you. Heaven is leaning close. And the one who writes your story is not finished with you yet. In fact, he is just beginning something far greater than you imagined. Let the tears fall if they must. Let the weight lift as you release the need to understand everything. Sometimes peace comes not from knowing, but from surrendering. Let go of what you thought it had to look like. Make room for what God is really doing. Because what He has planned is more healing, more beautiful, and more eternal than anything you could have built with your own hands. It is a gift of grace, not earned through perfection, but offered through faith, a reminder that no pain has been overlooked, no prayer ignored, and no tear forgotten. The time is not coming. The time is now. Type 1212 if you walk by faith and not by sight. You may not see it yet, but the atmosphere around you is shifting. There is movement in the unseen, and it carries the breath of God. He is breathing new life into places that once felt dry and lifeless. He is reigniting hopes you quietly buried, dreams you thought were too far gone, and restoring the parts of you that grew tired from holding on so long. The miracle check in Archangel Michael's hand is not small. It carries the weight of every moment you trusted God in the silence. Every time you chose to love when you felt empty, to keep going when you wanted to give up, to pray when you didn't know if your voice still reached heaven, those moments wrote your name in bold letters across the scroll of divine favor. And now, that check is here. Not because of what you've done, but because of who God is. He is faithful. He is kind. And most of all, He is near. There is no such thing as a forgotten child in God's kingdom. You were never overlooked. You were never a second thought. You were never too late to receive what He has promised. God doesn't operate on our clocks. He operates on love, and love is never rushed. Love waits for the right moment, the right heart posture, the right foundation. And you, beloved, have reached the moment where your heart is open enough to receive without fear, to believe without conditions, and to trust without needing to understand. That is when miracles come, not when we demand them, but when we are ready to carry them with grace. Maybe you've looked around and felt like others were blessed while you were forgotten. But what if God was saving something greater for you? Something that wouldn't just touch your life, but would overflow and bless others around you? God doesn't just bless us for our sake. He blesses us to be a reflection of His light, a testimony of what His love can do, a living reminder that He still moves mountains. Type yes to affirm you are ready for what heaven has for you. The truth is simple: you were created for abundance, yet a dormant brain signal has been holding you back. Scientists call it the money-attracting frequency, and once awakened, it pulls wealth into your life like never before. Others who pressed play once are already transformed, living the life they dreamed of. Do not hesitate or let regret steal this chance. Click the link in the video description and comments below to unlock your prosperity now. Your story is not a story of defeat, it's a story of redemption. And that redemption is unfolding even now, piece by piece, like morning light breaking through a long night. What once felt dark is slowly being colored with hope. What once felt lost is being returned with purpose. That's the miracle. That's the check. And it is more than financial provision. It is restoration of soul, renewal of joy, and healing of what the world could never fix. Sometimes, healing doesn't happen the way we expect. Sometimes, it comes gently. Not with fireworks, but with the soft voice of God reminding you, I'm still here. I've always been here. That reminder is the beginning of something sacred. Because when you know God is near, truly near, your heart begins to rest. Not because your situation is perfect, but because His presence is. Archangel Michael does not come to announce temporary fixes. He carries eternal truths. Truths that say you are not your past. You are not your pain. You are not what you've lost. You are who God says you are, redeemed, beloved, strong, chosen. And He is bringing you into a season where your identity will no longer be tied to what hurt you, but to what healed you. Miracles sometimes arrive wrapped in ordinary days. You may wake up and not feel anything different. But beneath the surface, heaven is moving. Every step of obedience, every act of faith, every kind word, every silent prayer has been planting seeds. And now, those seeds are blooming. Quietly. Powerfully. Divinely. The check is a symbol, yes, but more than that, it's a promise fulfilled. It's the moment where heaven says, I saw you. I heard you. I never forgot. It's a reminder that your life is not random. Every turn, every delay, every moment of confusion was part of a larger design. And now that design is revealing its beauty. This is not the end of your story. It is the unfolding of a new chapter, one marked by grace, soaked in peace, and overflowing with the love of Christ. You will look back and see how far you've come, not with bitterness, but with awe. Because it was God who carried you. It was God who never let go. It was God who believed in you, even when you stopped believing in yourself. So let your heart soften. Let your shoulders drop. Let the tension leave your chest. You don't need to fight anymore. You don't need to figure it all out. You just need to receive. To believe. To open your hands and say, Lord, I trust you. Because that trust is the doorway. That trust is the miracle. That trust is the space where God steps in and does what only He can do. That miracle you've been praying for, the one that seemed lost in the wind, has been held safely in the hands of the Almighty, and now, through Archangel Michael, it is being placed before you, timed perfectly, filled with grace, and marked with your name. Type 2323 if you agree this is your divine moment. There is a sacred hush in the air when God is about to move. Not the kind of silence that feels empty, but the kind that is heavy with anticipation, like the earth holding its breath before the rain. You may not hear trumpets or see signs in the sky, but deep in your soul, something is stirring. A quiet awareness. A peaceful certainty. That's the whisper of God letting you know, now is the time. It takes courage to believe again, especially when the waiting has worn you thin. It's not easy to hold on to hope when the world tells you to settle, when circumstances scream that it's too late, and when even your own heart hesitates to dream. But this is not the end. This is the turning. This is the season when what was promised begins to bloom, not because everything around you looks different, but because something inside you finally believes that God is still writing beautiful things with your life. The miracle check in the hands of Archangel Michael is not just a message of favor, it's an affirmation that God has been moving all along. Even when you couldn't feel Him, He was working. Even when you were surrounded by silence, heaven was busy writing. You are not forgotten. You are not abandoned. You are not overlooked. You are held in a love so deep, so wide, and so constant that not even time or trouble can undo it. And while the world often rewards speed, God treasures stillness. In the stillness, you hear Him clearer. In the quiet, your heart softens enough to receive. That's why you've been slowed down, not because you failed, but because He wanted you to rest in Him, to trust more deeply, and to receive more fully. The greatest gifts are not rushed. They are revealed in love. Type Amen if you believe His promises are still true for you. You don't have to fight for your place in God's heart. You've always had it. His love for you isn't based on how well you perform, how strong your faith looks, or how often you get it right. His love is unconditional. It is patient. It is enduring. You may have stumbled. You may have questioned. You may have cried out in frustration. But never once did God consider letting go of you. He has always chosen you. The check He is releasing into your life now is not bound by earthly logic. It carries spiritual blessings, divine timing, and heavenly peace. It may come in the form of healing that medicine couldn't bring. It may arrive as a restored relationship you had already mourned. It may appear as sudden favor, unexpected provision, or clarity where confusion once clouded your path. However it comes, you will know it was from Him, because it will feel like grace wrapped in light. This 9-word phrase was once buried under government secrecy, but now it's resurfacing, sparking a global wave of prosperity stories. Experts reveal it reactivates a money magnet section of your brain most people never use. Say it once daily and watch financial blocks vanish. But this page could vanish too. Click the link in the description and comments before it's gone. Let yourself believe again. Let your heart expand to hold the truth that God still performs miracles, even in quiet places, even for people who feel unworthy, even for you. Especially for you. You've been refined by fire, not consumed by it. You've been stretched, but not broken. You've been tested, but you've not been forsaken. And now, after all the pain, all the prayers, all the moments you chose to keep going when you felt empty, now comes the shift. This miracle isn't just a solution. It's a sign. A sign that your faith was never in vain. A sign that God hears even the quietest cry. A sign that you're not just surviving, you're being transformed. There is power in holding on when everything tells you to let go. There is power in standing firm when the wind blows hard. And there is a kind of miracle that only comes to those who chose to believe, not because they saw evidence, but because they trusted the character of God. The waiting wasn't punishment. It was preparation. You are ready now. Ready to receive, not just with your hands, but with your heart. Ready to step into the new, not in fear, but in faith. Ready to walk not by what you see, but by the deep knowing that God's hand is upon you, guiding, lifting, restoring. Archangel Michael brings more than a message. He brings assurance. The assurance that heaven has been watching over every step, covering you in times of despair, surrounding you with strength when yours ran out. His presence is a promise fulfilled. And that promise is that you are not alone, not forgotten, not unloved. So take this moment and breathe. Let go of the timelines you built in your mind. Let go of the doubt that lingers at the edges of your faith. Let go of the fear that whispers, "Maybe not for me." Because God is saying, yes, for you. Yes, now. Yes, this is the moment. You don't have to understand the how. You only need to receive the who, Jesus. The one who stands with you through every storm. The one who gave everything to make sure you'd never be separated from love. The one who still walks with you, even when you feel most lost. With reverence and grace, He holds before you a miracle authored by the hand of God, wrapped not in human logic but in divine love, and it bears your name, written not in ink, but in eternity. Type 1111 if you trust in God's timing and divine favor. There have been times when your spirit grew weary, when even the thought of another day felt too heavy. You've held on through seasons where nothing made sense, where the silence from heaven felt louder than any storm, and where hope seemed like something that belonged to someone else. But through every one of those moments, God never let go. He stood beside you, not always with loud signs, but with quiet strength, holding you up when your knees were trembling beneath the weight of waiting. He saw the nights you wept without words. He heard every broken sentence of your prayers. Not one breath of your pain has gone unnoticed by the one who created your soul. God doesn't forget His children. He gathers every tear like precious drops of rain and stores them as seeds for the miracles to come. And now, those seeds are blossoming into divine answers, answers that come not because you earned them, but because you belong to Him. The check that Archangel Michael brings is more than provision, it is restoration. It's the return of everything you thought was lost. It's healing for wounds that never seem to close. It's peace for the war you've fought within yourself. It's clarity for the confusion that clouded your thoughts. It's joy that doesn't make sense to the world because it was born from a place only God could reach. God is not finished with your story. In fact, this part, the one you are entering now, is where beauty begins to rise from the ashes. The kind of beauty that isn't shallow or temporary, but deep and everlasting. The kind that leaves you changed forever, because it didn't come from the world, it came from the throne of heaven. You've walked through fire, but it didn't burn you, it refined you. You felt the ache of empty hands, but they are now open, ready to receive. You've endured the silence, and now you will hear the whisper of God louder than ever, "I see you. I've prepared this for you. It's time." Type 2020 to claim the miracle you've waited for with faith. Miracles are not always loud. Sometimes, they come in stillness. In a sudden moment of peace that calms your heart. In the exact word you needed to hear. In the right person arriving at the right time. In an opportunity that feels tailor-made for the very prayers you prayed months, even years ago. That's how God works. Not randomly, but perfectly. Not rushed, but right on time. You may not feel worthy of something so good, especially if life has taught you to expect disappointment. But grace doesn't operate on worthiness, it flows from love. And love, true and holy love, sees beyond your mistakes, beyond your past, beyond your fears. Love sees who you truly are, even when you forget. God has been writing this miracle into your story all along. He knew what you needed before you did. He saw the trap before you stepped into it, the heartbreak before it touched you, the storm before it ever reached your shore. And He's been working around those things, weaving redemption into every chapter, guiding you back to this very moment, this holy place of receiving. You don't have to strive anymore. You don't have to keep running in circles, trying to prove that you're enough. In the eyes of God, you've always been enough. Not because of what you've done, but because of who you belong to. You are His. You always have been. Every second you wait, wealth meant for you slips into someone else's hands. A hidden brain wave, once buried in CIA files, has been proven to awaken unstoppable prosperity. In just 7 minutes, you can unlock the switch inside your mind that draws abundance like a magnet. This is more than an opportunity, it is destiny knocking. Click the link in the video description and comments below to activate your hidden wealth wave right now. Let that truth sink in deeply, like sunlight warming your skin after a long winter. Let it soften the corners of your heart that have grown cold from waiting. Let it reach the places that you've kept hidden even from yourself. Because when you know you are loved like this, fully and forever, something shifts. Fear loosens. Shame breaks. Faith rises. This miracle is not a favor. It's a fulfillment. It's a moment of divine alignment where your heart and God's heart beat in rhythm. Where your prayers and His promises meet in one powerful breath. This is not a coincidence. This is not luck. This is God. Archangel Michael does not bring empty words. He carries confirmation. A sign that heaven has heard you. That the weight is being lifted. That what was stuck is being released. That what was lost is being restored. You've come so far. You've endured so much. And now it is your time to receive, not out of desperation, but out of trust. Breathe in, slowly. Let your soul settle in this truth. You are seen, you are loved, and you are not forgotten. Heaven's check isn't just about what you need, it's about who you are. A beloved child of the King. A living testimony of grace. A vessel of light in a dark world. Your name is written on that promise not because you begged for it, but because God always intended it for you. Before you cried your first tear, He had already planned to wipe it away. Before you spoke your first prayer, He had already begun preparing the answer. He's not late. He's just incredibly precise. You don't need to chase it. It is already coming toward you, guided by the will of God and sealed with love. Type Amen if you believe God is preparing something beautiful for you. There are moments in life when everything seems quiet, not the kind of quiet that brings rest, but the kind that echoes with uncertainty. You look around, and nothing seems to be changing. You pray, and there's no immediate reply. You hope, but the days stretch on. Yet what you don't see, and what you must begin to trust, is that God often does His most powerful work in the quiet. The ground looks still before a seed breaks through, but that doesn't mean nothing is happening beneath the surface. Your heart may feel worn, but it is not empty. Your spirit may feel tired, but it is not broken. And even in the silence, God has been building something within you, something strong, something gentle, something ready. The waiting has been shaping you to hold the weight of what is coming, because the blessing isn't just about the gift. It's also about the person you've become through the journey. The miracle that Archangel Michael brings is not a replacement for the time you've lost. It is a redemption of it. God doesn't return things as they were. He brings them back better, fuller, and more aligned with who you truly are. This check is not just provision. It is peace, direction, assurance, and healing for the places you forgot even needed it. Every step of your journey, every disappointment, every delay, every no, was not the absence of God. It was the presence of His hand redirecting you from what wasn't meant for you, so you could walk into what has always been yours in heaven. The road was longer than you thought, but it has led you straight to a place of divine release. Type 222 if you believe your time is now. The check carries answers you stopped asking for because hope began to dim. But hope is returning now, not because your situation suddenly changed, but because something in you is awakening again. That's what the Spirit of God does. He revives the soul. He breathes into dry bones and calls them alive again. You don't need to figure out how. You just need to open your heart wide enough to receive. And receiving isn't weakness. It's not passive. It's one of the boldest things a person of faith can do, to say, I trust you, Lord. I receive what you've already written for me. I don't need to see every detail to believe it's true. That's when the heavens respond. That's when miracles flow. Because it is not by striving, but by trusting, that God pours out what only He can give. You are not late. You are not behind. You are not too broken to be blessed. You are right where you need to be for this miracle to unfold. Everything in your story has led to this point, not by accident, but by divine design. Even your detours were part of the path. Even the delays were doors in disguise. God wastes nothing. And right now, He is bringing beauty from the very places you thought were barren. Archangel Michael brings you this sign, not for the sake of wonder, but for the sake of your heart. To remind you that God has been listening, watching, and working all along. Your name in heaven is not just known. It is beloved. It is held close. And your life, no matter what it looks like today, is covered in layers of mercy and favor far deeper than you can comprehend. This check does not promise a life without struggle, but it does declare a life filled with purpose. It does not erase pain, but it brings healing that transforms the pain into testimony. It is not a shortcut. It is a sacred promise being fulfilled in the fullness of God's time. The struggles you faced were never your fault. A hidden brain frequency, once buried in secret research, has been silently holding back your wealth. Now, for the first time, it is available to you, and it only takes minutes to activate. Imagine the chains of debt breaking, the doors of opportunity opening, and your life flooding with prosperity. This chance may never return. Click the link in the video description and comments below to claim it now. When you receive it, your soul will know. Because it won't be about the physical thing, it will be about the peace that floods in. It will be about the way your shoulders suddenly feel lighter. The way your heart suddenly feels safe. The way your tears feel different, no longer heavy, but holy. That's the fingerprint of heaven. And it's already on you. The next days won't be like the ones before. Not because everything will become easy, but because everything will become clear. Your spirit is rising, not in fear, but in confidence, confidence in the one who has never failed you. Confidence in the one who calls you by name. Confidence in the one who says, I have plans for you, and they are still unfolding. So stand still in this moment, even if your world feels like it's moving too fast. Let yourself be still and listen, not with your ears, but with your spirit. There's a whisper of grace coming through the noise. And it's saying, you are ready. He sees your journey. And he calls it holy. He sees your future. And he calls it radiant. There is so much still ahead for you, more than you could imagine, more than you've dared to hope for. The dreams you thought were lost, the parts of your soul you believed were too wounded to be whole again, they are not only alive in God's hands, they are becoming something more beautiful than you ever asked for. What I saw, and why I wept, was not just the trials you endured, but the triumphs that followed. Not the pain that tried to silence you, but the praise that rose from your life in spite of it. You were never meant to be ordinary. You carry the mark of heaven, and the light of Christ is etched into your being in ways that darkness can never touch. There were days ahead when you would look back on those quiet nights of waiting and realize they were not a pause in your life, but the beginning of everything that mattered. I saw the beauty that came after, but more than that, I saw how God used every aching moment to prepare a place in your heart where real joy could live. He was not late. He was not silent. He was building a foundation inside you so strong, nothing this world throws at you could ever shake it again. You thought you had lost time. You thought too many doors had closed, too many mistakes had been made, too much was broken to ever be made whole. But what I saw was restoration, not just of time or opportunity, but of your heart, of your identity, of everything that felt too damaged to be touched again. God is not just mending what was broken, He is creating something entirely new, and what's coming is not just better, it's beyond anything you've seen before. Type 1818 to claim miracles and breakthroughs. I saw the people who would walk into your life in that next season, souls who had also been through their own fires, who would recognize the light in you because they had been searching for it. They would find comfort in your presence, not because you had all the answers, but because you carried peace. Not a surface-level calm, but a deep, holy peace that had been carved through pain and sealed with grace. Your story would speak to them without needing many words. Just by being who you are, you would bring healing. But before that, I saw something else, something deeply personal. I saw you learning to love yourself the way Jesus loves you, not the version of you you thought you had to be, but the real you, the one God made and delights in. I saw you begin to look in the mirror and no longer see failure or flaws, but someone deeply loved, someone worth saving, someone worth dying for. That was the moment things began to change in a way no one could take from you. Because when you began to agree with heaven's truth about who you are, the lies that once bound you began to fall apart, one by one. And I wept, not because of your suffering, but because of the beauty that bloomed in its wake. What I saw wasn't a person who had everything figured out. What I saw was someone who dared to keep going, someone who chose mercy over bitterness, who chose faith even when the answers didn't come. I saw you lean into God with nothing left to give, and that surrender became the very soil where miracles began to grow. God's love for you has never depended on your perfection, and it never will. He is not asking you to earn anything. He is not looking for your performance. He wants your heart, just as it is, right now, even if it feels tired, even if it feels heavy. His hands are gentle, and He knows how to hold you through the process of becoming. You don't have to hide your weakness from Him. He already sees it, and He calls you beloved anyway. There was a moment I witnessed, a quiet one, where you were simply sitting alone, your eyes closed, your soul worn thin. And Jesus came so close, not to fix everything in that second, but to sit with you, to hold your hand, to weep with you. That moment, though small and unseen by the world, moved heaven. Not because you were strong, but because you let yourself be held. That is what real strength looks like in the kingdom. I saw the moments when joy returned. Slowly, gently, like the first signs of spring after a long winter. It came not in grand gestures, but in the way your spirit softened again, in the way you laughed without fear, in the way your eyes lit up with hope that didn't need to explain itself. You stopped apologizing for who you are. You stopped trying to dim your light to make others comfortable. You began to walk as a child of God, free and full of grace. And as that happened, your life began to overflow, not just with good things for you, but for everyone around you. The gifts God placed in you, long hidden, began to rise. You started to see things others missed. You spoke words that healed deep wounds. You listened with your whole heart. You served quietly, faithfully, even when no one thanked you. And in doing so, you carried the very fragrance of Christ into places that had long forgotten what love felt like. Type 1919 if you believe healing is yours. You may not have realized it, but in your moments of greatest weakness, you were closer to heaven than you've ever been. Not because suffering is holy in itself, but because in your suffering, you opened a space for God to meet you in ways that joy alone cannot hold. You laid down the idea of who you thought you had to be, and in doing so, you made room for the truth of who you've always been, a deeply loved creation, not defined by failure, but designed for something eternal. I saw a moment, quiet and hidden from the eyes of the world, when you spoke to God not with perfect words, but from the core of your weariness. You didn't demand, you didn't pretend, you simply asked for help. And that small, honest cry stirred heaven in a way that shook even the stillness of eternity. Because what moves the heart of God is not strength or knowledge or perfection, it is the childlike surrender that says, I cannot do this alone. And from that moment, though nothing may have changed around you immediately, everything began to shift within you. The Spirit of God, who never sleeps, started building inside your heart a new song. It was slow. It was gentle. It didn't come with fireworks or fanfare. But day by day, the melody of hope grew stronger, and your spirit began to sing again, even if the notes trembled at first. What if a simple 7-minute sound frequency could awaken a forgotten brain signal designed to pull wealth toward you like a magnet? Backed by shocking CIA files and neuroscience, this discovery is now changing lives everywhere. Think of debts melting away, promotions arriving, and abundance flowing freely. This is the one moment that can rewrite your future, but only if you claim it now, because hesitation will only keep you chained to the same struggles. Click the link in video description and comments below to experience the hidden wealth wave and let your financial destiny shift in your favor today. There is so much I wish I could show you all at once. So many good things waiting just beyond the edge of what you can see right now. But even if I could reveal it all, I wouldn't, not because you don't deserve to know, but because the beauty of the journey is in discovering it with God, moment by moment, hand in hand. He is not hiding from you. He is walking beside you, whispering love into your spirit in every unseen hour. I saw how your faith would grow, not through certainty, but through trust. You would begin to find joy in the ordinary, in the warmth of the sun on your skin, in the kindness of a stranger, in the stillness of morning where no one else is watching. These moments may seem small, but they are sacred. They are the quiet echoes of God saying, "I am here. I have always been here." There will be a day, not too far from now, when you will look back and marvel, not just at what changed, but at how you were changed. You will see that the things you thought would break you were actually the very things that opened your heart wide enough to receive the kind of love that never ends. You will see that the detours were not distractions, but redirections towards something better than you asked for. You will not only be restored, you will be renewed. The years the enemy tried to steal from you will be repaid with peace that cannot be shaken and joy that cannot be faked. You won't have to strive for it. You won't have to chase it. It will meet you exactly where you are, because God's promises do not depend on your perfection, they depend on His faithfulness, and He has never broken a single one. I watched people around you begin to see the change too. Not because you became someone new, but because you finally began to let who you truly are rise to the surface. You stopped hiding your heart. You stopped silencing your dreams. You began to live, not from fear, but from a deep knowing that you are loved, chosen, and deeply cherished by the God who made you. Type Amen if you believe in God's endless mercy. And from that place, miracles started to bloom. They didn't always look like what you expected. Sometimes they looked like peace in the middle of chaos. Sometimes they looked like strength to forgive when you could have stayed angry. Sometimes they looked like the courage to begin again when everything inside you screamed that it was too late. But each one was real, and each one mattered. You are not forgotten. You are not disqualified. Your story is still being written by the one who writes in beauty, in grace, and in light. Hold on to that truth, even if your hands are trembling. Because what I saw in your future was not just survival. It was resurrection. It was love rising from loss, and light breaking through even the darkest night. When I was shown your future, I cried, not out of sorrow, but because of the sheer beauty and weight of what was coming. There was a strength being formed in you, quiet but unshakable, and it was not forged in joy alone. It was shaped through every night you stayed awake wondering if God still remembered your name. It was born in the days you questioned your worth but chose to believe in love anyway. That kind of faith is rare, and when I saw it blossom in you, it moved me in ways I cannot explain. You need to know this: your life is not small. Even when it feels overlooked, even when others seem to pass you by, your life ripples through eternity in ways you cannot see yet. God is using every moment, even the ones you'd rather forget, to build something eternal. Nothing has been wasted. Nothing is useless. Not your pain, not your waiting, not your tears. All of it is being gathered into something beautiful, and the time is coming when you'll see it with your own eyes. I saw a moment where you finally realized how deeply you are loved, not just by those around you, but by the Creator of the stars and skies. It came softly, in the way healing often does, like the first time a wound begins to close without you noticing. You stopped seeing yourself through the lens of your past, and you began to understand that your value was never in what you've done or failed to do. It was in who you are. God's child. God's masterpiece. God's beloved. In that moment, things began to change. Not always on the outside right away, but within your heart. You stopped running from yourself. You stopped chasing things that were never meant to define you. You turned your face toward the one who had been waiting all along, and when you did, something broke loose in the spirit. Chains that had bound your heart for years fell away like dust in the wind. Freedom came, not as a shout, but as a deep breath, as peace where there had been pain. You must understand, this future I saw was not handed to you because you earned it or fought harder than others. It came because you opened your heart to grace. You let God love you when you felt most unlovable. You let Him stay when you were convinced you didn't deserve Him. That kind of surrender is powerful. That kind of humility draws heaven close. And because of it, everything began to bloom again. Type 2020 to embrace joy and strength in Christ. I saw how your journey would begin to bless others, not because you had all the answers, but because you finally lived from a place of truth. You weren't pretending anymore. You weren't wearing a mask to be accepted. You had faced yourself, with all your fears and flaws, and you had invited Jesus into every corner. And from that place, you began to shine, not a blinding, unreachable light, but a warm, soft light that made people feel seen, safe, and loved. You became a place of refuge. A resting place for weary souls. Not because you tried to be, but because you let God heal you deeply enough that His peace flowed through you. People began to feel calmer in your presence, not knowing why, but sensing that something in you was different. And that something was the presence of Christ, alive in you, quiet and steady, like a lantern in a dark room. There were still challenges. The enemy did not stop trying to discourage you. But you were no longer afraid. You had seen too much of God's goodness to be shaken. You had walked through too much to go back. And even when the fear returned, even when the old doubts crept in, you stood your ground, not with arrogance, but with assurance. You had been rescued. You had been claimed. And you were never going to walk alone again. And this is what I want you to hold on to now: the future I saw is not far away. It is drawing near with every breath, with every heartbeat. You may not see it yet, but you are closer than you've ever been. Do not give up now. Do not turn back. The promises of God are not fading, they are unfolding. Slowly, beautifully, and right on time. But nothing could be further from the truth. Because what I saw, and what you couldn't see then, was that even in your lowest moment, God never took his eyes off you. Not for a second. His love didn't waver when you doubted. His mercy didn't hesitate when you felt unworthy. He didn't stand at a distance, waiting for you to clean yourself up, he came closer. He entered the mess with you, not to shame you, but to lift you. To hold you when you could no longer hold yourself. What if the missing piece to financial success wasn't luck, but a hidden frequency inside your brain waiting to be switched on? Once activated, this ancient signal unleashes waves of prosperity, opening doors to opportunities you never thought possible. From sudden windfalls to long-awaited breakthroughs, it's transforming lives daily. Want to see how? Click the link in the video description and comments below to tap into the money magnet brain wave and begin your journey today. Others are already awakening this hidden signal and watching their lives transform. Do not be the one left behind while abundance passes you by. You don't know this yet, but heaven has a record of every tear you've cried in secret. They weren't a sign of weakness, they were the overflow of a heart still soft enough to feel, still alive enough to long for something more. And it was in those very moments, when you thought you were falling apart, that God was actually rebuilding you from the inside out. You were not being abandoned. You were being transformed. I watched the walls you had built to protect yourself slowly begin to crack, not because you failed, but because God was gently breaking them down to make space for something better. Love came in through those cracks, not the kind of love the world offers and takes away, but the kind that heals without hurting, the kind that sees every scar and calls you beautiful anyway. It didn't arrive all at once. It came in whispers. In quiet reminders. In the peace that settled over you like a soft blanket when you had no words left to pray. That love began to change everything. Not just how you felt, but how you saw. You started to recognize God in places you once thought were empty. You began to hear His voice again, not as a shout, but as a steady presence, like the rhythm of your heartbeat reminding you that you are still here, still chosen, still loved beyond comprehension. And slowly, the lies you once believed about yourself began to lose their power. Type 2121 if you trust God's plan for your life. I saw the way you began to forgive, not just others, but yourself. You let go of the shame you had carried for far too long. You stopped blaming yourself for things that were never yours to carry. And when you did, I saw a light begin to shine from within you, a light that had been there all along, buried under sorrow, waiting for grace to uncover it. That light is not going out. It is growing. And it is going to lead others home. Because you see, your story is not just for you. What you are walking through, the healing, the surrender, the slow rebuilding of trust, it will one day become someone else's survival map. Not because you're perfect, but because you're real. Because you've known pain, and you've known Jesus in the middle of it. And that kind of testimony carries a weight that can't be faked. It carries the presence of God. I saw you take someone else's hand, not with a lecture or a list of answers, but with compassion. With quiet strength. With a simple, I've been there too. And that moment, that one, ordinary, sacred moment, was a miracle. Not because it fixed everything, but because it reminded another soul that they weren't alone. That's what your life will do. That's what it's already doing, whether you realize it or not.